Okay guys, question number one, we're actually going to do a hybrid of two questions. So the first question is from Julie Starnes, and the second question is from Toby. And I'll paraphrase them both because they both have kind of a similar theme, so it's a really good question.
Yeah.
So Julie Starnes says, "Hey Sean and Laura, I work at a dog boarding facility rescue, and one of the rescues is an 8-pound Lhasa mix who rages worse than any dog I've seen. His thyroid is normal. My boss can handle him without issue, but when I feed him or let him out, he growls and shows teeth and means business. He's bitten me on the hands 3 times, and the more blood he got, the more he wanted. My boss put an e-collar on him. I can't physically touch him, and he does better but doesn't wear it consistently. My boss is a softie, but I'm a stickler for rules, which is why he rages at me. So like any pressure, or if she adds
any accountability or anything.
I want to bring him home for a board and train, but my boss is against it. He'll never get adopted in this state. Any help you would give would be so appreciated." And then Toby says, "My question is regarding a dog who's currently a resident of an animal shelter. He's aggressive with strangers. When a stranger comes on his territory, he'll growl and lunge at them. If a stranger touches him, he might bite them. He exhibits this behavior in the kennel. Basically, he ignores strangers at like off-site event, like the events, unless people try to touch him. So he was returned twice for aggressive behavior towards strangers.
He sounds like he's ready to go.
Yeah. Therefore, if the homeowners have friends or family visiting, he's aggressive to them. Is there anything that could be done to correct this behavior, or should he always be crated?"
Okay.
Yeah.
Always being crated doesn't sound like much of a life.
Not fun life.
Okay, so let me jump into this, and I want everybody to take this in the spirit that it's meant. And I've got some notes here because this is a pretty serious topic, so I want to make sure like I really hit this right. So, to be honest, like I personally wouldn't be going after trying to fix, resolve, adopt out dogs with bite histories, rage issues, or like secondarily with Toby, like I don't know if Toby's bitten yet, but you said if touched by a stranger, he likely would bite. So it's a danger to future adopters. It's a danger to family members. It's a danger to guests, right? So the question was, is there anything to do about that, right? Now, I appreciate the question, I appreciate the sentiment, and I appreciate what you guys are you're in the trenches and you're trying to fix dogs. But the reality is that a lot of these dogs come in with a lot of baggage, and even with great training, they're not going to be safe. They're not going to be bomb-proof. They're not going to be able to go into a regular family. There's a difference if you were going to adopt it, or if you were going to have a trainer friend adopt it, somebody that could actually like understand the gravity of the situation, knew exactly how to handle it, knew how to diminish, comes my helicopter, how to diminish any possible danger situations. That's not the word I'm looking for exactly, but I think you get what I'm saying. A trainer would be able to manage the dog in a more safe fashion, understand triggers, know how to keep people safe, all that stuff. A regular family, like if these dogs are being like kind of like geared to go into regular families aren't prepared for this, guys, right? So you're basically taking dogs that are pretty compromised, and then you're going to put them with families, and I'm not putting this on you guys, I'm just saying in a general concept, this happens a lot. Then you're going to put these dogs out into the general population with general kind of owners, and they're going to either get bitten or struggle or be miserable or have a really hard time. If you had a really mild situation and the dog jumped on people and growled because it was initially really nervous, and then once a little structure or on a walk and the dog like completely blossomed and like, you know what I mean? We're talking about like light cases. It's a different story. But you guys are talking about 2 dogs that sound like pretty serious dogs that would come here for board and trains, right? 2-3 week board and trains.
They need to have stellar owners.
Absolutely stellar owners who are so down to learn everything, have the dogs on e-collars and work their butts off to try and get these dogs into a good space. Even then there would be no guarantees that things would be right. Even then we would have no idea how much management would be involved, right? So, and then it brings up the concept it brings up the question about crating and like what kind of life is it for a dog that's crated constantly, right? And I know you're not saying to crate the dog always, but like if a dog can't be around strangers or anything like that, I mean, it's going to be a pretty limited life. Not to mention the famous saying about, you know, management always breaks down. I mean, you put biting dogs into homes, regular owners are going to screw up. And then here's the other part of this is that it's on you. Right? If you're the ones that adopted it out or green lighted it or said like, you know, we work with the dog and the dog's better, like, I just think it's such an important thing for us to really get a reality check. And we're going to talk about this later in the show, but I think it's important that we get a really serious reality check about what kind of dogs we're putting out into the world when there's a lot of very healthy, safe dogs that can be put out in the world, and what kind of resources are we devoting to dogs that
what time and energy are we spending on the right
money, time, effort, space, and then also danger possibilities, right?
Yeah.
Risk possibilities. So
and like, I really, with these situations, I'm like, how are you going to get an owner? You have to disclose all that. Like, I don't know one owner that would be like, oh, he's like aggressive with strangers, let me take that on. Like, you don't, so you're going to have to be like, well, he was rehabbed and he had, like, I'm trying to think of how you could be super honest and actually have someone adopt that dog. It's just
the only way is if you get somebody that wants a project dog.
Yeah.
Right? A trainer who's like, man, I really would like a project dog.
Like
or a dog enthusiast who's like, I love training dogs, and even if they're really nasty, I love that. But it's kind of what we see is like, you know, people putting a lot of effort into dogs, and I'm not saying that's not worth it. I mean, every dog is should have a chance, but there's a lot of dogs that don't have chances that are actually great dogs, like Hercules. And it brings and I don't know if I agree that every dog should have a chance. Dogs that
I mean, there's dogs that like could come off as aggressive.
Oh yeah,
that are like
just like a correction away from being great, right? And that's what I was trying to hint at earlier. So I know this sounds harsh and it might sound heartless coming from dog trainers that we're saying that I think those resources are being misspent, time, effort, money, space, and risk factors. But I would heavily reconsider what you guys are doing as far as emphasis and effort and time put into these guys, when you could be really working on dogs that could be fantastic members of a family and you have a responsibility above this dog to the humans that the dog's going to go to. That's your highest responsibility. Your highest moral responsibility is to those owners, not to these dogs. I have to say it. Humans come first in this. So I'm going to wrap it there. We'll talk a little bit more about this concept at the end of the show, but hopefully it doesn't make us sound heartless. It's just a bit more of the reality situation.
Yeah.
So sorry we don't have like a sunshiny answer for it.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is you could always just keep working, but
or just adopt it yourself.
Yeah.
Like if you're really, really like, this dog is a special dog.
Worth it. Yeah.
Cool. I just see a lot of rescue people get really caught up in dogs, and then, you know, they find the one soft spot of this dog or the one redeeming quality, and they're like, in this capacity or in this environment or this context, he can be great. Yeah, but that's not life. Life is not going to give you one simple, easy context. It's going to throw the book at a dog, and eventually that dog's going to make a mistake.
Yeah.
So anyways,
cool.
All right, thanks for that question. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.